point this incredible community to some resources that, you know, this isn't an end game. This is one day, but we got lots of things coming up that you can still stay connected to us as you navigate through the next few days and weeks and months.
Really looking forward to this. And yeah, we'll definitely save time for the Q&A at the end. And if there's any questions that we didn't get to, because again, there's a lot of people here, we'll also share your social and your website for people to stay connected beyond this as well.
Awesome.
Cool. So I will let you take it away and I will mute myself, but I will still be here. So if there's any questions or anything, I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah. Interject at any time too. Like if you get something that you want me to address, I'm happy to do it.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Oh, my sweet mother. I am so excited you're here. It's Friday, generally speaking. It's a noon where I am at. So you're in my office in Olds, Alberta, Canada. And we are going to talk a lot today about primarily this moving back into the classroom, mental health, the mental health of our babies, the mental health of, you know, those of us holding our babies, because I think it is the number one concern I've had since, you know, we sort of entered into this global pandemic experience, and we're months into it, as you know. So first of all, what I want you to do is look at me. I want you to look at me, and we're going to drop our shoulders. Okay. I got you. For the next 45 minutes or an hour, we are going to laugh and we might cry. I might cuss a little. So if you got the children around, you might want to put your headphones on, or also just start to explain right now the difference between adult words and kid words. I have this conversation daily in my own personal house, because here's what happens when I get passionate about things. I talk how I would if we were sitting down to have a glass of wine tonight. I can't separate the two. This is how much this matters to me, how much educators, how much parents matter to me. And I'll tell you, I mean, you know, as Jess said, I'm a child psychologist, but I rarely treat kids because I don't really like them. So it's full disclosure here. I am much more comfortable and competent around adults. And let me be clear that everything I tell you today, or that we're going to talk about today, is good in theory, because I wrote a book called Kids These Days, which is, you know, you're going to have access to this course, because I am better with other people's children. So if you watch me with my own personal children, you might not buy the course, but what is important is that there is a standard of practice around a few things that I believe to be true that are really going to be helpful as we walk our babies and our husbands and our wives and our fellow educators through this process, that I think is universal. And I think it will be the thing we forget in a time where things are going to be a little bit chaotic. So I want to start there in the sort of fundamental premise of anything I write about or talk about, or anything I do comes down to one thing. And so I believe that there's no right way to parent a kid, no one right way to teach a kid, that your own child, who you love, you lead, you teach, you know best, and you have to trust intuitively that you will make the best decisions for them. Full stop. Nobody should dictate to you how to do things the right way, because we all come from different experiences and cultures and beliefs and expectations and trauma histories that's going to form the way that we show up for our babies. There is one universal truth that I think is so critically important that we put on the table right now in this season of fear and uncertainty. And this is it. If you own a kid or teach a kid or love a kid during a pandemic or ever, we got one job, and that is attend to and teach them emotional regulation. Emotional regulation means how not to lose your mind, period. If you bring a baby home from the hospital, they got one basic opportunity to let you know what they need. They lose their mind. Yeah, they cry. The job of big people, from the second they put an infant into your arms, is to assist them in co-regulating emotion, soothing, calming, making sense of hard things. That's our job. Their job forever, whether they're 2 months old or 57, you are their parent, and your job is to walk them through, generally speaking, there's caveats. I can already hear the buts. Just stick with me. The teachers in the room will experience, really love this. Stay on track with me, okay? Our job is to allow the safety of places to become emotionally dysregulated while we walk them home. So my Ram Dass quote I use in everything I speak about, you can see it, it's over my shoulder because I have to remember it every single day. It's not an end game. Ram Dass, who's dead, says this, and here's the cool thing about most people who are dead know more about living than the people who are alive. But anyway, Ram Dass said this: we are just here walking each other home. And this is so true of educators. This is why I will devote the majority of the rest of my career to educators, to teachers, because they play such a pivotal role in the village who walks our children home, particularly when hard things come: grief, loss, trauma, global pandemics. Never before has the African proverb, "it takes a village," more important than it is right now. Here's the problem. Guess what happens when we get scared or there's no script for things? We disconnect. We get emotionally dysregulated. Guess what is needed in time of fear and uncertainty and a global pandemic? Connection, calm, and emotional regulation as we walk each other through it. Why? Because we're wired for it. I know, it's not fair. You can get mad if you want. Cross your arms. This sucks. I don't want to wear a mask. How do you get babies to wear masks? They want to lick everybody. How do you keep 30 children in a room because they're all going to be taking their masks off and slingshotting it? And how, okay, come on. Emotional dysregulation does not allow us to be kind, to have grace, to use our words, to apologize, or to have any access to empathy. The heart of any mental health disorder always comes back to the capacity to regulate emotion, to stay calm in times of distress, okay? Here's the trick. The children that we are walking through this process are ill-equipped in the world of emotional regulation skills, typically. Adults are supposed to be better at this process because we've had more time to learn them. Some of us have not learned them well, and you can think about them. Don't make eye contact here with your colleagues, but there's some who got better skill in the emotional regulation department than others. However, it will remain that our children will require, particularly in times of uncertainty, that somebody will provide a structure of emotional regulation, reassurance, calm as we walk through hard things. Otherwise, the babies will suffer insignificantly, okay? Significantly, not insignificantly. Literacy and numeracy is not my jam. Okay, so let's take it back to the beginning. Emotional regulation means, how do I walk you through hard things again and again and again so that you eventually learn to do that on your own? I can't tell you how to stay calm. I have to show you. I can't tell an infant who is just screaming his head off, "That's enough. Use your words. I'm going to take away your milk until you decide." I can't tell you how to calm down. I do this with an infant who has no language very readily. Shh. Okay. I try to decode what might be contributing to the emotional dysregulation. Are they hungry? Do they need a bum change? Do they have a sore tummy? Do they have a fever? I try to unpack what I can do to help them co-regulate, to regulate emotion. The more times I do that in my physical presence, the less somebody needs to do that when I'm not there, okay? So emotional regulation is a thing we don't talk about nearly enough. We talk a lot about behavior. We talk a lot about emotional dysregulated behavior and what I do to fix that behavior. And we come from previous generations that would say, previous theories that would say, you got to fix the behavior, punish it, until they stop it, or reward it to keep it there. Way too simplistic in today's generation because we are so disconnected in terms of our relationships. Strict behaviorism only works when I have a relationship first. Now, the hard part about behaviorism is it actually does work particularly well with rats, which is where the whole theory was based. But it works in the moment sometimes. If I have a big enough stick, I can get any kid to comply. I can get any person to comply. But the question is, what does it leave you with? And in this world of more disconnect right now, particularly in the middle of a global pandemic, we must be most concerned about relationship and connection. Otherwise, the long-term effects will be, we have a lot of dysregulation, which is the heart of emotional dysregulation or mental struggles, okay? Mental health concerns. All right, so that's the tricky thing. Now how do we assist kids in regulating emotion? Here, you got to understand this. The kids are not the problem. I can treat a kid in isolation for the rest of my career. And if I continue to put them in a school, in a daycare, in a home where people feel completely out of control, unsupported, unsafe, it doesn't matter how many skills I provide that baby, that child, they are a product of their environment. They're a barometer to how other people around them respond. So here's my biggest concern as we head back into the classroom is how we look after the big people. How we look after the holy people who have decided to commit to a career, which is remarkable to me, that they would want to look after other people's children on a daily basis. I do not understand why teachers choose the profession. I mean, I understand it now, but on the outset, I mean, these are a group of people who said, you know what? I want to look after other people's children. I want to put myself into a position every single day where I am in charge of looking after other people's most significant commodity. That's what I want. I mean, I feel like there's very little risk in that. And I really like to be spit at and kicked and told that I was asking if I could swear. So here's a swear word. Told to fuck off, do all of those things. That's what they say. And they say things like this, like, I can handle lice. These people are sacred. If you are these people, look at me right now. Do you understand how amazing you are? I am so grateful that you are considering stepping back in with babies just like mine to walk them through a season that I promise you they will never forget. The school instruction year of 2020 and 2021 will be marked in your memory and theirs for the rest of time. How amazing is it to be able to be in a position to be able to change the course of how they tell the story about this experience? We got some choices to make. If we're not okay, that story will be very difficult. If we look after us, we have the capacity to be able to entrench emotional regulation skills now like no other time in educator history. So here's the 5 things that I think are really important. I wanted to make sure that I leave you with, something today that, well, I mean, we got less to talk about, but there's 5 things that I want to talk about. Now that we sort of understand this process of emotional regulation as being sort of the fundamental basis of healthy people, many of us have 3 regulation strategies: fight, flight, and freeze. Not many of us, all of us. Okay, these are like the things that are given for free: fight, flight, and freeze. I refer to those if I have no other skills, if I don't have a capacity to apologize or repair or use my words or do any of those kind of things. I will go into my very limbic system and use fight, flight, and freeze. What's important in this process is, how do I create a community, a village around which we have lots of options to help each other stay regulated so that we can give that gift to these babies at least 30% of the time. We're going to mess this up. I mean, come on. Let's just acknowledge that right now. We only got to get this right 30% of the time. We'll be exhausted and overwhelmed and scared and all of those things many of the time. So we got to give ourselves some grace in this process. But no, my most important focus now, more than ever, I mean, prior to a pandemic, it was also my focus, but now more than ever, is not the babies, but the people who hold them. Not the students and families we serve, but the staff. Not the principals, but of the senior leadership team. Look after your principals first, who will then look after your staff first, who will then look after the children. Huh? I don't know number one here, but that's really important. Okay, so how are we going to do that? 5 things. 5 brave moves I want you to tuck in your back pocket if you're a parent or an educator or anybody who loves a baby. Here's what we're going to need to think about if we want to stay emotionally regulated to walk our kids through hard things. Okay. Number 1, this is a Dan Siegel-ism. He says, name it to tame it. And I love it. The indigenous people have taught me this most significantly over the last 6 months about the importance of acknowledging. As parents and as educators, we tend to want to fix big emotion. When things get out of control, people start to get panicked and scared. We like to come up with a plan and strategies and suggestions. And you know what we miss every single time? The acknowledgement. The naming of just how difficult this is. We want to sugarcoat. We don't like emotional dysregulation. We don't like it when our kids are emotionally dysregulated. We don't like it when our partners are emotionally dysregulated. We don't like it when our staff is emotionally dysregulated. We much prefer in this culture to have people we love, lead, and teach emotionally regulated and calm. And when they lose their friggin' minds, guess what our first instinct is? Fix it. Hey, you're in the red. Hey, enough. Shh, calm down. You're fine. You know what? Maybe you should try this and this and this. I'm just so exhausted. I don't know if I can come back to school. Okay, well, you know what? This is what I would suggest you try. Okay, yoga. Have you been drinking your water? Are you working out? No. Anyway, we all know what we should be doing. In the context of emotional regulation, I cannot have access to those things unless I acknowledge first just how difficult this is. So I want you in this moment to take a hot second and just think about, this is 5-6 months of being in a state of uncertainty, probably like no other. And I mean, people have all kinds of experiences that they bring to the table, right? We left the previous school year hoping that we had done our due diligence by trying some online stuff, just getting kids through it. That's good. By in September, we'll get back to normal. That is becoming very clear that very soon we will not be back to what we would consider normal. What have you had to hang on to in this process? How have you managed loss, disconnection, not being there to see or hug your parents, or at the birth of a grandchild, or being able to host a funeral as we would have liked to, walk your friend through her cancer treatment? All of these things in life over the 6 months have continued to go. And there's been very little acknowledgement about just how hard this has been. If you're an educator planning or back in the classroom, here's also what's happening is that you have now had to pivot once again for many, many ways this could go. That is huge. How heavy has this been for you? We are amazing to be in this position right now, and naming it to tame it becomes a Dan Siegelism that is beautiful. This is hard. This is overwhelming. This is scary. This is exhausting. I'm feeling inadequate. I'm clearly not a teacher because I'm fucking my kids up by trying to teach them math, and I don't even like math, so I just put them on their iPad. I'm more tired now. I'm more irritable now. Guess what happens when we don't have predictability around us? We get chippy. The irritability level in our homes has been here for many of us, in our communities here. We have, we're on the heels of a global systematic review of marginalization. The irritability, the heightened emotion, the heightened emotional dysregulation is massive. And when we start to acknowledge that and give ourselves some grace, we're going to fall into number 2, which is the necessity to feel it and drop our shoulders. Number 2, shoulders, grab them if you can, drop. Because 2 things will happen when we start to acknowledge the necessity of naming it. Because if we don't acknowledge it first and appreciate that perception is a function of experience, if it matters to you, it matters. We will be having lots of conversation that will involve comparison. Well, at least you're not going back into a hospital. Well, at least you still have a job. Why are you so sad? Put on a mask. How hard is that? We try in an effort to pull people out of emotional dysregulation by at leasting them a lot. And that is the most discounting phrase you can use. Usually it's done in an effort to pull you out of it. But what we miss is the importance of the acknowledgement. And for some people, you know, for our 10-year-old who has to go back wearing a mask is the biggest issue. For our partner who, you know, is a nurse, is going into a COVID unit every day. My 10-year-old's concern over wearing a mask seems minimal compared to the fact that, you know, my partner may die because of the significant exposure to COVID. So I start to not worry about my baby's concern about, you know what, you're fine. Your father's going into work every single day and you can wear a mask. Perception is a function of experience. If it matters to you, it matters. Okay. So that part of number 1 acknowledgement becomes very, very important to be closely followed up by the necessity to drop those shoulders. And here's what I love. I often say this: anxiety and a calm body will never date. There will never be a, like they don't get along. Okay. That like, they're never going to get married, period. But they're also not even going to make out, because you can't be calm, emotionally regulated, and have overwhelming anxiety at the same time. Because when you are breathing deeply, when you are taking a drink of water, you have calmed your prefrontal cortex to be online. This is the most higher order functioning that sets humans apart from other mammals. And I want us to stay as connected, present in our prefrontal cortex as possible. That is how we process the heart emotion. That is our defense against the things that kind of mess us up around anxiety, depression, you know, incorporating trauma. How do I get back to this state of connectedness really is our ability to do this. And I said probably 5 minutes ago, I want you to pay attention to your shoulders and drop them. It's not a one-shot deal. I will tell you that about 8 times during the session, and every time I promise you, you'll be back up here. Because, sweet one, you have so much on your plate to try to navigate right now that instinctually you go back into fight or flight before you even recognize it, right? Okay. We start to think about this, we got it, and then we're like, oh shit, I forgot to call the teacher. I don't even like it. What are we doing for supper? Oh my God, do I have to go to the grocery store? Oh my God, Walmart just made the masks. You gotta, where's my, the conscious effort to be dropping the shoulders is, I think, one of the most important things that matters now. And, you know, I've been pulled in, we had this conversation as therapists the other day, just around like, oh my gosh, are we still going to be talking about, you know, just dropping those shoulders? I mean, I think we've talked about this for months. Do we have anything else to offer? And, you know, it's just a sudden realization that this simplicity, there's no answer that's going to be acceptable right now that you should do this and this and this to survive a global pandemic. It comes back to the basics, which is we are wired to do hard things. How do we know that? I mean, Nelson Mandela was in isolation for 27 years. The fella comes out of isolation and does some fairly, remarkable things. This is not the first time. There are many people on this planet who are doing remarkably disconnecting, scary, traumatizing things, and they survived. And what we've learned is the truth that we are also wired for connection. And the thing that goes most quickly when we get scared, there's no script, is connection, is grace, is kindness, and empathy. And if there's anything we need as we send our babies back into a classroom to a bunch of educators who don't have a fucking plan, because there is not a plan to be had. Nobody knows what's going on. We're always like, oh my God, the government don't got a plan. What are they gonna do about this? Oh my God, senior men. Listen, nobody knows. This is new. It reminds me of what I say to my children every day. You know, we have friends that are 7, and they're like, Mom, you are the worst mom in the world. I'm like, did you know I'm new here? Like, I have never parented 7-year-old twins before. This is my first trip at it. So you bet you're going to give me some grace here, because I'm going to mess it up. But what becomes really critical is how we step back in again and again and again. So know you're going to lose your mind. Know you're going to get chippy. No, you're going to feel it. No, is going to happen. Drop it. That's 1 and 2. 3. How do we stay connected to our teachers, the people who are walking our kids home with us, our own personal babies when we want to, you know, our own partners when we feel like we want to throat punch? When we are back into our bodies, here's number 3 that I want you to really pay close attention to in your communities. If we want to offset any of the mental health concerns that are fixing to happen, I want you to focus on your balls. I want you to smile with your balls. Okay? Now, don't forget it. These are the window to the soul. The corona, as far as we know, does not jump from ball to ball. Okay? When you have mask on, you can still engage with your balls. And this becomes critically important when we greet our babies, when we greet our store clerks, when I'm dropping a child off to you as an educator. Greet me with your balls. I need to have some connection to you, to my child, if I'm going to stay regulated. Insisting that parents do not come into a school is a recipe for disaster, because I need to stay connected in some way. How best am I going to do that to be able to walk you home? Because if I take a baby from a mama who feels completely disoriented and scared because everybody had a mask on and this kid is on the spectrum and he's very scared, or he's got an anxiety, look at me. Look at my balls. I got you. I don't know exactly what I'm doing when I get in there, because I don't know how to teach in the middle of the COVID, but don't say that part. Co-regulating becomes the first step, because we cannot get anywhere near the literacy and numeracy. We cannot get anywhere near compliance or learning or teaching or consequencing unless emotional regulation becomes the first thing on the planet. I cannot teach you matter to me if you're emotionally dysregulated. The heart of much work we do in mental health comes down to worthiness. The light up, the connection, your balls will become your biggest skill, the biggest capacity you own, okay? It's not a capacity, but you know, your biggest tool. I want you to be very careful, cognizant of what you're doing in your communities in the next few bit. I want you to be waving every chance you get. Two things are happening. If you are emotionally regulated, you'll wave. If you are emotionally dysregulated, you won't, because you'll be driving like this. Oh my God, this is awful. I don't even know what I'm having for supper. And I don't even have my mask. Do I have this thing? The administration doesn't even care about me. You don't even notice that the other people are by you. If you make conscious effort to be waving to people, first of all, you're going to scare them, because everybody's also in their own head. It's my favorite thing to do is to wave to people. Huh? I was telling the story before, COVID, and everybody was, when I'd wave to people in our community here, who may not know me. I love it because it's a little experiment I do, because if people pass you and I can see them in their car, yeah. Hey, Ethel, who was that? Huh? Yeah, see, we're walking each other home. We're engaging each other's prefrontal cortex by being connected, okay? It is your superpower. It is what is necessary, not only for them, but it tells me that you are finding some reprieve in the day to notice other. What you lose when mental illness becomes significantly prominent in your life is you lose capacity for dual awareness, which means you become very internally focused and you lose the concept of the other. The other is just a skill for me to know when I'm really connected to other people that I'm doing better. When I lose that capacity, it is the reminder to pull that back in for me that gives me the sense of having a shoulder drop kind of a moment. Okay. So let's just review. Name it to tame it. Shoulders drop. Smile with your balls. That's my personal favorite. I'm going to come back to that a couple times. Number 4, and I said this I think already, but I want you to add this to your list. Kindness and grace is more contagious than the virus. No matter how many waves we experience, maybe we won't get another wave, but if we get 3 or 4 or wave 6 or whatever the deal is, kindness and grace will always be more contagious. And it is what is necessary to assist people who are emotionally dysregulated or suffering with mental or emotional dysregulation, mental health concerns, okay? You do not have access to kindness and grace if you're emotionally dysregulated yourself, which again reminds me that you matter more than anybody on the planet. What are we doing for you to make sure that you're okay? And I think, again, I think we're at our best when we're in this place of giving it away. So on my tough days, I try to remember that my job is to give away 3 compliments. My job in any given day is to pay for the guy's coffee behind me. In that small window, when we talk about this, the guy behind you or the complimentee receiver, anyway, the guy you're giving a compliment to, that's cool. He's fine. I'm much more concerned about the impact that has on you. And we often think when we give things away or, be kind to other people, it is because we're giving it to them. Now, do you know what happens neurologically, physiologically for you when you're nice? The benefits are massive, which is why I have a little hashtag. It's just be nice fucker, which again, I hope you have your ear plugs in. But why I say it like that is not to be offensive. And I apologize so sincerely if it is. Here's what happens. There's certain words in our language that demand attention, maybe not respect, but attention. And I am so concerned about the climate. I was going to say the political climate, but I won't, but I am concerned about that, but just pretend I didn't say that. I'm concerned about what happens when we consume social media, when we consume media, if we're not sitting with the winners, the conversation is very different than when you sit with people that says, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly hard. This season is going to be brutal. Look at me. We got it. Let's do it together. Let's fucking dance. Come on. Come on, babies. Let's bring this community together. I'm going to be the safest that I can. I'm going to look after your kid to the best of my ability. I know I'm going to step out when it's too much for me and my family. Let's go. When I go to battle with a group of people like that, I got you. When I go to battle with when I surround myself with people who are like, this is bullshit. Everybody doesn't know what to do. I feel okay, remember that we all have a significant responsibility to set the tone. And I need you to do these things. And we have the right, the necessity to identify, to name it. This is how hard it is for me. You don't get it. If you are having a conversation with somebody and they say, yes, but, all bets are off. Get back to number 1. Tell me more. What am I missing? Then and only then can we get back in our own bodies. And how do we start to use our balls and get into this place of giving it away, of kindness and grace? The last thing I want to sort of talk about before we jump into question and answer is this idea around gratitude. And I'm married to a farmer, and gratitude feels a bit flowery of a word. Okay. Gratitude is like something that you just like do if you do yoga or you intermittent fast. Okay. That's a general area about gratitude. Gratitude gets a bad rap because, listen to me, gratitude is a practice. And it is the practice, it is my beacon back to joy. In the most overwhelmed times of my life, if I can sink into gratitude, if I can give myself a gift of sinking into gratitude, which means finding something I'm blessed with, something I'm thankful for. I say to my husband sometimes, just tell me what happened good today, right? You don't have to practice gratitude, but just what was good today. Whatever language assists you in accessing that means, what are you thankful for? What's going well? Because we have the propensity to find all the shit that's going wrong, right? We're good at that part. We're good at this part of like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. We're not very good at this. I'm very thankful for. I mean, we come from generations where you got to be humble and you don't want to brag. And, you know, all of those things are sort of indoctrinated into the way that we think about things. But now more than ever, gratitude is a practice, which means if you want to get good at it, you got to do it. Just like your wrist shot or your golf swing or yoga or your spirituality, if you don't practice it, you'll suck at it. And generally, we're not awesome at gratitude, but it is our way home as we get through hard things. Appreciate that administration, appreciate to the best of your capacity that our educators are doing heroic things to bring our babies back into the classroom. Appreciate that parents are doing heroic acts of bravery to deliver children into a public system where they may get sick. Empathy requires us to temporarily suspend judgment, not condone, temporarily suspend judgment and step into somebody else's shoes. It gives us so much freedom when we have the capacity to do that. Okay, so let me recap those 5 things real quick, and then I want to tell you a couple of other things, and then we're going to jump into question and answer. Okay, so again, naming it to tame it. Number 1, you got to acknowledge it. It's not an end game. This isn't a final list. You're not going to just do it and be like, good, got it. No. We're going to go back over again and again and again and again and again in these processes. Okay, so acknowledge it. What's the hardest part? What are you scared about the most? Who do you feel is letting you down? Who's not supporting you? Why is this not fair? Do it. Get in there. Say it. Be it. Feel it. When you do that, what's going to happen is your cortisol is going to increase, your oxytocin, your dopamine are going to go down, and we're going to want to counteract that with this. Do it again. I see you. Drop those shoulders. Number 3. Use your balls. Smile with your balls. Be that person who engages with other people. You do not have to be crazy about it. You don't have to be like, smiling. You show up to the best of your capacity. Your light up for your students. They will be able to smell it from a parking lot if you see them and give them the light up, the smile. Okay? It's not about being demonstrative in this process. It's about engaging in it, period. How you do it does not matter nearly as much as if you do it. And even behind a mask, we are wired for connection and we can feel it. Don't underestimate the power. Even behind a video, don't underestimate the power. Okay? 4 is this idea of kindness and grace is more contagious than the virus. Don't forget it. My sweet mother of Jesus, Pearl, you are so powerful. Just be nice as often as you can. Not for them, but for you. If you own an ex who you're trying to navigate this back to school process with, be nice and you will get further. Not because they deserve it, but because you want somebody who can have a discussion at the table. And if they're regulated, you will get further. Last but not least, gratitude is a practice. What are you thankful for right now? What have you survived? What's been so good? Why are you lucky to be here? Why are they lucky to have you? Your team, your family, your children. Why? You're amazing. Do you know how many people think you're amazing? You're amazing. And I think I want to end on that note, just in terms of, let me be just so clear about this. I am so grateful to the system as it's trying to navigate keeping the people we love safe. I am so grateful to educators who are stepping back in to an unknown, trying to figure out how they're still going to light up and love on my babies. And educators, I want you to remember this more than anything. If you only knew the impact you are about to make, the stories that will be told about this year, you are inextricably woven into the tapestries of my children, of everybody's babies, and it is holy work. And I am so, so thankful for your bravery, for stepping in. I mean, we're doing a conference on August 22nd called Bring Your Brave, and I use this word brave for one important reason. The definition is stepping into something with your whole heart when you can't predict the outcome. When you can't predict the outcome, we tend to armor up and be less of ourselves. We hate it, we're defensive, we're chippy, we are resentful, and then we teach those skills inadvertently. When we step in with our whole heart, even when we can't predict the outcome, we say, drop our shoulders, let's fucking dance. We teach our babies resilience, connection, kindness, even in a time of uncertainty. That skill, that lesson is priceless. The literacy and the numeracy curriculum will come. Connection, worthiness, being regulated in times of distress is unbelievably priceless. We can't tell them, we have to show them. Okay? All right, so 3 things I wanted to mention. If you're new to this community, if you're new to me, I'm so glad you got to find us on this resource. This platform is where we house a couple of courses that I've done. One is a course that's associated with the book I wrote called Kids These Days. And the book is, I think, friggin' fantastic. But the course I did just in my office at the beginning of the pandemic because all of the speaking events that we had scheduled were canceled, understandably. So I wanted to be able to put a resource out there that just sort of took the book into a bit of a deeper dive. So every chapter I do a half-an-hour video talking just a little bit about what we talked about today. So take a look at that. There's a discount code to get the course today. I'd love you to watch it. I'd love to hear what you think. The other thing is part of this community. I mean, somebody told me this once, Rhonda Britton told me this one time, there's a big difference between being motivational and transformational. And I really enjoy that you show up today, and I'm going to do my very best, of course, to fill your soul. But there's something very important to me about building community, because this isn't a one-shot deal. We won't just feel good about this and then be able to step into the season and feel awesome. Where do you come back when you need to be emotionally regulated again, just like our babies? So we built this beautiful community of humans where we talk a lot about hard things. So I have a lot of resources on our Facebook page and Instagram page that you can just access anytime. I've done a lot of these kind of discussions. During COVID, I came on every morning at around 8:15 to just meet with my coffee mates. We called them, a group of people that would gather every morning, sometimes a few thousand, and we would just talk a little bit about the hard things of the day. I stopped that in July and August because of summer and because of all these things happening. So I'm going to tell you a secret that I think I'm going to happen. So don't mention it yet because I don't even know if it's for sure. But I feel like I want to show up again every morning starting September 1st as we step into this very scary season. Maybe for 15, 20 minutes, Monday to Friday, back on our Instagram, Facebook Live. I want you to be able to access this community because I think this is what we're doing. We're just here walking each other home. And the last thing I'll tell you about is August 22nd, we're doing Relit for educators because I want a whole day, not just an hour, a whole day where we can hold these holy workers. So check it out. I think if you just Google it, you'll find it. Jess and I were talking about whether there's a link here somewhere. I know there's a link to the course, but if you just Google, you can find us, and we'd love to have you. We tried to make it accessible to everybody. The ticket prices are as low as we can make them, and you can gift a ticket. So if you'd love your kid's teacher to experience this, it's a beautiful way to kick off a year and show our educators how much we love them. So Jess, how was that?
Jody, that was absolutely incredible. First of all, can we give a big thank you to Dr. Jody in the chat? I can tell you there are many people, including a lot of people here from Teachable who've been watching this, who are not parents, who have been bawling and laughing and just, I think what you, I think that the things that you're sharing can transcend to beyond just parents, but just individuals. So I really do appreciate you sharing all of this. So many incredible questions in the chat. So we are going to do our best. We have a few more minutes to kind of go through these, but please do check out the work that Dr. Jody is doing. The link, if you're interested in joining her course, is above this video. And the most common question that we received was, is there going to be a replay? The answer is yes, definitely. We will email you tomorrow in case you had to leave or you came in late to catch up on this. Okay, so we have our first question from Lori, who is wondering, can you give me the words I might need to offer to caregivers dropping off their babies for their first day of kindergarten?
Yes. Oh, Lori, I love that question. I want you, you know this intuitively. If you have been a kindergarten teacher or you work in a daycare, I want you to put yourself in their position for a moment. And what do you need to hear? Things like, I'm so glad you're here. Your balls will be very involved in this process. I'm so glad your baby's here. I can't wait to spend time with them. Everything is as safe as it possibly can be here, right? I got them now. I got them now. We'll let you know if there's any concerns today. All of those things to regulate emotion. What becomes more important than the things you say is the way you show up. If you can get their face, right? So there's some discussion and now in some, and I understand protocols are protocols, but if you must go outside the school because they're not allowed in, I would make every effort to get eye contact with the parent. I would make every effort to connect via phone if I could, or email, less cool, to be able to just regulate emotion before stepping back in. All of those measures, you know, people say to me, oh my God, I don't have enough time. What am I gonna do? Okay, you do the best you can with what you got. I appreciate there's so many things on your plate right now, but this is true as we calm our staff down. Instead of sending out emails like, holy shit, this is gonna be bad. No, I would consider an email, a video message to say like, hey team, I got you. There's gonna be a meat tray waiting with some fancy snacks when you come into the staff room, and you know I got you. Even if in your head you're like, I don't have a fucking clue. You don't say that part. You say, come here, come on. And so what we want is to walk each other home through that process to the best of our capacity, yeah?
That's great. Here's an interesting question from Carly. They're wondering, how can we be supportive and positive without colleagues, with our colleagues without having toxic positivity? We as teachers are not only scared about our safety and the safety of our students, while constantly fighting and defending our profession. It's exhausting.
Oh, Carly, let's just take a hot second and just acknowledge the fact that it is so exhausting. I cannot imagine all that has to be juggled. And I think if I understand your question correctly, it's really this idea about how do we acknowledging how hard it is by not just sugarcoating him like, it's good, it's fine, everybody's fine this time, okay? Everybody hates that guy. Huh? See, it's okay, you're good, we're good. I have a t-shirt that says, I'm fine, everything's fine. You're not fucking fine. We know that. So this is why it becomes this sort of interchangeable process of acknowledging, naming it, stepping into it. Acknowledging it, naming it, starting your day with, guys, what are we worried about the most today? Why are we here? What are we going to step into? Going back and forth between those things so that you don't want to throat punch the person who is like, we got it. I can't wait to see the children. The necessity is really that, and then stepping back into it. Incredible. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And I can't tell you how many comments we have in the chat right now. So again, please, if you are just meeting Dr. Jody for the first time, please check her out on social and her website. We'll share the links in the chat as well, because I know there's so many questions we are not going to be able to get to today. Okay, here's an interesting question around burnout. Where did it go? For preventing teacher burnout. Maybe it could also be like parental burnout.
Yep, tell me. What is the question?
Oh yeah, so how do you prevent?
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
like, cool. That is interesting. Okay, so oftentimes the form of burnout that we often talk about in this space is something called compassion fatigue, which means that I am getting exhausted for giving my heart. Burnout is, when I've got too much on my plate, I've got reports due, I've got so many things I can't get to. Compassion fatigue is when my heart is tired. When I feel like people aren't acknowledging me, that I am spending time, effort, and energy on other people's children, when people just think I am not doing curriculum enough, or what are you doing to care for this child, or what Compassion fatigue becomes even worse than burnout because it's almost a question of your character and your intention. And generally, if you're in a serving profession, you come into this because you want to serve other people. You want to be good to other people. What they don't see is that you've lost, listen, every single educator on the planet has lost sleep over somebody else's child. Every single one. Isn't that something? I mean, every single teacher that you've ever had, Jess, in your life went home and lost sleep over somebody else's child. They've committed money, time, resources to somebody else's baby. This is what these people do. And when somebody comes to them and questions their character, their intention, am I making you cry?
You are.
You're like, I'm fine, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, everything is fine.
But I mean, this is the emotion that we dip into, right? And when I acknowledge that and somebody questions the character, I got to be able, as that person, to say, okay, this mama is scared. This mama is worried for her baby. I got you. Come here. Come on. And it is that piece of burnout that we often lose sight of, that everybody has a story who's delivering to us their most important commodity. How do we look after each other so we can hold that emotion, not just of kids, but of the parents, of our staff? How do we look after ourselves? How do we find our joy? Who are we leaning on? Whose opinions are we listening to? If it's Twitter, you're fucked. You got to find the people who matter the most. The rest don't score. Why do you do this work? To serve kids and families, to be the difference. And you will get, hard things will happen in that context. How do you reset every time? Because you're holy workers.
So great. Okay, and I'm blasting through these questions. I know I'll have to send you the link to the chat so you can just see how many comments there are right now. But
yeah, I would love it.
Celia, so I think this will be our final question. Celia is wondering, I have a child that has gone through health issues that have caused a fear of death and major anxiety. With this pandemic, she's more afraid of death, even more so. How could we support our children that have these issues to help them be more at ease? How do we support the teacher?
Oh, I love that, Celia. First of all, heartbreaking, mama. And I can only imagine what this means for you, because your baby's at higher risk. I can only imagine what this means for, people who doubt this as a, the non-mask wearing discussioners who are going again. Do you understand? Like, I can imagine how hard this must be, for people who are in that heightened state of arousal for good reason, for obviously important reason. I think the first thing that matters in this process is, let's acknowledge when you have even more on the line, this is going to become even trickier to navigate. And I want to make sure, Celia, that we're talking about who's got you, who can be in your corner as you assist your baby in this process. The village becomes really important, because sometimes we have more difficult times talking to our own children, that when auntie or teacher or cookum or, our best friends, I often reach out to them to say, hey, can you have a chat with Asher? My son has an anxiety disorder and he's scared of most everything. And oftentimes I'm not as good because I want to fix it for him. I want him to get that. You're going to be fine. Hey, listen, it's okay. And I don't do that nearly as well as when Nana sits and has a conversation, or my best friend. So pull in your resources. The other thing that I think is important for your own appreciation is connect to somebody at the school who you have a relationship with. If there's nobody yet, find that person. It might not even be the teacher to come out of the gate with, but it might be the secretary or the custodian or the bus driver, or somebody who you can connect to start to advocate for, tell the story for. Just know that I got to tell you a little bit about her. I got to tell you a little bit about him. because sometimes it is just like any of us, when we have that personal connection, I'm going to look out for your babe. I often say this, you know, and this is going to sound kind of bad, but I often court the teachers of my children in an effort to have them be more connected to my children. I'm the parent that brings booze. Now, we're going to get lots of feedback about that. You do not have to feed because, you know, anyways, that's very bad. I am like, bring snacks in very airtight things so there's no corona on them, and deliver notes, checking in before. I'm excited. I want to tell you a little bit about Asher and how much he's excited to come to your school. This is a new school for him, and he's a bit worried, Miss Morgan. I sent that exact email last week, but I want you to know I'm so grateful you're on this journey with us. In fact, I bought you a ticket for Relit. That's also helpful, you know, stuff like that. But I mean, again, it's not about an exchange of money as much as it is I see you, I acknowledge you. I'm so glad you're a part of this journey for us. I want to tell you a little bit about collect, direct, just like we do with kids. Collect, direct.
So great. Dr. Jody, thank you so much for spending your Friday here with us. I know there have been so many aha moments, so many takeaways. So again, huge thank you to Dr. Jody. Let me find the link to Relit. I'll post the link as well to Relit in the chat. Here it is. And social, what is the best way for people to connect with you outside of that?
Yeah, thanks. We're on, our Instagram is drjodycarrington.com or at Dr. Jody Carrington. Our Twitter is Dr. Carrington, and the Facebook page is also Dr. Jody Carrington. So we'd love it. We have the best community on the planet. They're kind and inclusive, and we like to talk about hard things. So we'd love to have you join us. I do a live every Wednesday morning, similar to this actually, every Wednesday morning at 8:15 Mountain, and every Sunday night we do a session, and then at 8 o'clock. And then now, hopefully in September, I'll come back on Monday to Friday every morning, just have coffee, you know?
Wonderful. And we'll have also the link to Jody's course in the chat. Please keep us posted when you go through it, all of your aha moments, tag us on social. We love to see what you're up to.
I would love feedback, absolutely.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jody, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Jess. Bye, everybody.